Hey, you guys, welcome back to Level Up with Lori. I'm so excited that you are here today. We have another edition of our leadership series, and I'm incredibly excited and honored to welcome Carrie Barfoot onto the podcast today. Carrie has actually been with Epicure for 15 years, which is absolutely amazing. And what I love about her, which is different from some of the stories and some of the leaders that I have introduced you to so far, is that she actually did start in order to create an income. She was starting a family and just newly married. And after her first baby and after her first mat leave, she basically went all in and turned it into a full-time income that replaced her current income. And so we dig into that and some of the steps in order, like if there's, I know that some of you out there listening are considering and wondering to yourself if this is possible for you. And I want you to know, and I think what you will hear inside this episode is that it is possible for every single one of us. But the biggest piece in that entire puzzle is making the decision that is what you want, and then choosing, like Carrie did, to go all in after, like, the pursuit of that goal. The other thing we talk about, because she has been in this industry for 15 years, is just kind of the transition of going from being fully in person to the last 2 years having to fully transition into online, and how she sees this playing out as we kind of move into a new era of network marketing where we're now online skills masters, but we can now start to be in person again, and just kind of how powerful this hybrid could be for your business. So sit back, relax, or keep driving your car or going on your walk, whatever you're doing, but tune in to this episode. And if you love it, go follow Carrie over on Facebook and Instagram, give her some love, share this episode into your stories and tag me, and I promise to give you some love back. You guys, I always appreciate the love, and the more we can share and build a community around us, the more we change this industry that we know and we love, and the more we can get this word and this valuable training out to the ears that it needs to reach. So I love you as always, and I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I enjoyed recording it. All right, I'm here with Carrie, and I'm so excited to kind of start this next episode in our leadership series. Thank you so much for being with us today, Carrie.
Absolutely, it's my honor. I'm excited.
Me too. Honestly, so far the ones that I have done have been, it's just like such an awesome experience to see leadership through other people's eyes. And I think sometimes it feels unattainable to people, and yet we're normal humans too, right?
Absolutely.
How long have you been in business? And why don't you tell us a little bit of how you got started with Epicure?
Okay, so I've been with Epicure 15 years.
Wow.
So rewind the clock 15 years ago,
Yep.
I worked in a traditional job. I went through school to be a graphic designer.
Okay.
And I was working in that field for about 8 years. And I love the creativity and I love the people I worked with. But I soon recognized that I didn't love being an employee. I didn't love not having control of my time and my schedule. Yep. So I also, at that time, my husband and I, my high school sweetheart, we had just got married. So we're newly married. We just purchased a new home and we wanted to start a new family. So we had all these like new things happening in our life. And, you know, at the end of the month, we still had more month happening than money. So yep. I really just needed extra income. I was looking for something that was flexible that I could do with my full-time career. And I was introduced to Epicure. So I really saw it as a business opportunity. So I started as a side gig, as many people do. It was flexible. I could do it with my full-time job. Then my husband and I did start our family. We had our first son, Patrick. And while I was on maternity leave, that's when I really got sparked that this side gig had the opportunity to be so much more, that it really could be my ticket to being an entrepreneur versus an employee. So I went all in that year on mat leave. It was really the gift of time that I was given. And that's 15 years later. So I have 3 beautiful children. I have Patrick, who is going to high school next year. And I have twins. I call them my twinners, Parker and Preston, and they're 10. And they
Yeah, I forgot you were like a fellow 3-boy mom.
Yes, so boy mom, twin mom, hockey mom, and my children have all been born into Epicure. It's allowed me to be a work-at-home mom, build a beautiful life for our family, you know, make a 6-figure income, and just really wake up every day like super jazzed and happy about what I do, and to instill, you know, in my children that, you know, your career isn't just about a paycheck, it's about creating a lifestyle and creating that happiness. So it's been a really amazing journey, and I'm just grateful that Epicure was the platform that's been allowing me to do that.
So you decided kind of in that first year of mat leave to go all in. Did you ever return back to work, or what did that look like for you?
No, I didn't. So it was very scary.
Yeah.
The year I was on mat leave, I went to my first conference. So if you are in any type of direct sales, like definitely attend your conferences. That's what did it for me. That's what showed me that it's not a side gig. There is women and men that are legitimately making an amazing career. So I was sparked, I was inspired, and I just decided that that year was my opportunity to go all in, to give it everything I needed, and I made my first goal to make enough income to cover what I was making on mat leave, which isn't very much, but I knew that I could survive.
First starting point, right?
Yes. So that was my starting point. And then once I reached that, then I could increase my goal from there.
Love it. And so I feel like this is a good conversation to have. Like if you had to give somebody advice for like how to like transition, I know there's a lot of women who spend a lot of time thinking about whether this could become something that could allow them to drop down to part-time or allow them to fully work from the home. But I think there's a lot of things that often get in the way, probably mostly stuff in between our two ears. But like, how do you make that transition? What are some of those pivotal steps to going all in?
So a couple things. One, I always tell my consultants who are looking at leadership, number one, perfection is the enemy of done. It will never be perfect. You just have to do it. You just have to get in and get dirty. You're going to learn as you go. And I would say the biggest thing is you need to be consistent. So it's all of those small actions every single day that you're putting towards your business that are going to create big results. And it's just having a plan and just really getting out of your own way. Stop with the excuses. If it is really valuable and important to yourself, then you have everything it takes to do it. You really just need to believe. And you always say, like, can you imagine how far you would go if you were less afraid? Like, just, you know, make fear your fuel and go for it.
Love that. And almost when you have to, right? Like the simple fact that you made that decision not to go back to work meant that like you had to figure out a way to make that position provide the level of income that you needed. It was the same for me when I gave up teaching. Like there was just, now there's nothing to fall back on. So people always say, well, what's your why? And back then it was literally to feed my family.
I'm glad that you said that, because I think that's so true. And I can actually see a difference in leaders on my organization of those that literally have to versus it's really nice to be in leader, or you have to. And if you have a have to, it fuels your fire and it gets you to where you need to be. And then once you kind of get there and you start to experience that lifestyle of being an entrepreneur and having control, then that becomes your fuel. That you just, that's a fuel of why you want to go bigger and farther and reach bigger dreams, for sure.
Exactly. It's almost like, if you don't have anything else to fall back on, you're going to do the post, you're going to do the reach out, you're going to do all the things that you need to do, even though it doesn't feel comfortable. And I think the biggest misconception in this industry is that it's all about motivation, because motivation is just this thing that we think that we should have in order to do the things. But I don't know about you, but I don't wake up every single morning like motivated necessarily.
Yes. I also I want to make sure that I do say, there's this misperception, I think, when people speak to upper, levels in this company that have made this their sole career, that we never say to go quit your job. I have leaders that love their job, and I would never tell anybody to quit their job, only if it's not filling their cup or purposeful for them. But some people like have an amazing career, but then have built this exceptional leadership journey, and then have bigger goals like Freedom 50, Freedom 55, right, buying a pontoon boat or a cottage, and be able to create this lifestyle by having both careers. But I think it's taking that leap of faith to figure out what is your why, like, why are you going to do this? Like, what is your have to? And then that's what's going to fuel you.
I love that. I love that. Okay, so I did have like one question that I typically ask people just about like any challenges that you've kind of come up against inside of your leadership journey. Like what has been like one of the bigger ones that you've noticed either for yourself or even the leaders that you work with in your organization?
Absolutely. I'd say one of the biggest challenges that I've dealt with in my 15 years, I still today, it's negativity. So as a new consultant, before I started to build a team, there's always that negativity from somewhere. I remember going to a training, very, very new in my business with Epicure, and the lady that I went with said to me, "We will never make it to the top of this company because we didn't start at the beginning." And she just fed a lot of that myth perception into my head. And I remember, now that I look back, I could have swallowed that pill. I could have believed her and it would have stopped me, but I chose not to, and I chose to believe and stay positive. Sorry. So I think whether you're a new consultant all the way to today, there's always going to be negativity. You need to learn how to turn that off, to be positive, forward thinking, and to know that it's not always going to be perfect. There's going to be hard times. We're always going to be digging that tunnel to our goal. And there's always going to be walls that get put in our face when we're in that tunnel. And those are the walls that are put in there to keep the people out that don't want it bad enough. So keep digging, keep going forward, and you will reach your goals. So I think it's just staying positive and making sure that you take that negativity out of your life. That is probably the biggest challenge that a lot of people and I've faced, is getting rid of the negativity from others.
Well, and the truth is, my guess is that woman did not make it to the top of the organization.
Funny story. She actually reached out to me about a year or so ago and was a host. She hosted for me because she had left the company quite a long time ago. And she had actually said to me, "I wish I stuck it out." And she's in kind of a dead-end job. She's stressed out, and it kind of felt not good for her, but I thought, I'm so glad I didn't swallow that pill that she gave those years ago. So definitely negativity serves nobody.
Well, I think we need to remind ourselves that like the negative things that we say can become self-fulfilling prophecies, right? Like you hear a lot of people say, "Oh, people are not buying in my area," or "the products are too expensive for this," et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. A, you can never sell something that you don't truly believe in the value of. And B, anytime you kind of live inside those negative thoughts, it becomes the truth for you.
Absolutely. So be cautious of who you surround yourself with. And sometimes that can be very, very difficult to take yourself out and away from those people, but it is very important. And to just believe in your products, believe in your company that they've got your back, believe in yourself. And, and it's hard. It's so easy to just say, be positive. Being positive is hard. I know that's kind of like retroacting itself, but you need to like work on that. So it's positive podcasts and affirmations and goal sheets around you. Like it's part of our business and your life is to just really work at that positivity and that open growth mindset.
Yeah, I love the growth mindset aspect of that. Okay, so 15 years, you've seen the transition of working this business in a number of different ways. What are you, I know this is totally a question out of nowhere, but like, what are you going to bring into kind of the next 6 months? Like I feel like you've seen a lot of, from everything from like when I started, I did 100% in person, which I'm guessing you were too at one point. And then, of course, in the last 2 years, we've had to transition to 100% online. What do you think the future holds?
Oh my gosh. It's a very interesting time right now. And you're right, I did 100% in person. And then the last 2 years had to pivot virtual. And that was absolutely exceptional. I learned so much and grew so much from that. But I am at a place that I'm back to both. So I do feel that there is a space for virtual to continue. E-commerce is supposed to quadruple in the next 2 years. But I do feel that we need to get back into belly to belly, person to person. So I see it like as a hybrid that we will do in person as well to build community and connection and relationships. However, virtual will stay because it allows us to reach further. It allows us to connect with more people. So I'd say in the next 6 months, we're going to see a little both virtual and in person. And I think we're going to, as leaders, we'll be leading the way to challenge ourselves to get back out with people, to then inspire our team to do the same as I'm sure many of that we're speaking to have grown a team or have joined during the last 2 years of only virtual. So it's
that's what I was just thinking. There will be a lot of humans in our organizations that have actually never experienced the magic of being in person. And I'm certain, especially for Epicure, like there's just got to be nothing like the in-person experience.
Yeah, the tasting, the food, definitely with Epicure, but with anything, when humans come together and we share a glass of wine and we share, something we're passionate about, like it is magic. And right now, especially, people are craving that interaction with others because we've been like hermited for the last 2 years. So now is the time, especially as a leadership role, to get out there, to show the way, to inspire our teams to experience the magic. Because it's going to take a little bit of a push for some, and we need to lead the way.
And I think like anybody that's listening to this that has not done in person, what you need to know is that it's like taking candy from a baby in terms of sales, right? Like online, we show up and we do a really good job, but we never know for sure how it's going to turn out. But every single time you can get a human into a room and they can sample your products and see your products firsthand, regardless of the products, if you can get them there, most of the time they're going to become your shoppers.
Exactly. The other thing that's really powerful for in-person, that for those that haven't done it, if you're listening, is with the virtual, I feel that we do the presentation, we do the shares, we do the show, and then we chase the sale after. And again, not knowing what's going to happen. Whereas when it's in person, it is done that night. You've got in there, the orders are done, the payment, the bookings, the sponsoring leads. It's like a one and done. You drive home and it's like check done, no chasing. So it 100%. Really is like very, very effective.
Right, because I'm certain there's some people that are thinking that it's more time consuming, more energy consuming, but really who doesn't want to get out of the house a little bit? Like, I don't know, my 2 hands are in the air. But you're right, everything's done in that 2-hour window. So it is so much more efficient than the online business model in a lot of ways, even though I think the coming together of them, the marrying, is absolute magic.
I think like as far as like say a party or whatever you call it, it's more effective. And then from there, we're funneling these new customers into our VIP, doing an amazing job to effectively run those VIP or community groups. And from there, that's a whole other stream of income. So that virtual and that in person, I think there's like a really beautiful place how they come together now.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Okay. So if you could give anyone running a business and wanting to move into leadership one piece of advice, what would it be?
So a consultant looking to move to leadership, I would say be your best consultant. Be your best consultant, meaning lead the way, inspire others, cheer them on, and lead by example. So do the work, do what you want your team to do. You need to do it yourself. I think a lot of times as they move from consultant to leader, when they get to leader, they feel like I've arrived, and then you focus so much time on supporting your team, you forget about your personal business. So
Mhm.
From a consultant moving to leader, you need to hammer down, do the work, be your best consultant. And when you reach leader, you want to continue that. You always want to be your best consultant on your team.
It's so true. I always used to say, like, you cannot expect anyone else to do the things you're not willing to do yourself.
Exactly. And as I feel like we're all independent consultants. So anyone that gets into this type of field, they're independent. We're all big girls, big boys. We do the work ourselves. We don't need to hold each other's hand. As a leader, you're there to cheer, inspire. And by doing the actions and leading the way, that is what's going to inspire and bring your team up with you.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. Do you have a favorite podcast or a book you would recommend?
Level Up with Lori for sure.
Well, that was a no-brainer, right?
I will say I'm really enjoying your podcast. Shout out to my leaders who actually connected me with you. Really amazing stuff. So I love podcasts. I love to walk every morning, and that's what fuels me as I listen to positive, uplifting podcasts.
Well, I think that kind of goes back to the point you made before about surrounding yourself with that kind of energy.
Exactly. So really like investing in that. So Level Up with Laura, I love your work. I really love Rachel Hollis. I love anybody that's motivational. If I'm trying to like master a certain area in my life, I'll like dive into podcasts about that. As far as books, I want to be a reader because readers are leaders.
Listening to books, because that has been the game changer for me. The Audible app actually makes it so that I can read books. I read books that are fluff, but then like I fall asleep if I'm reading business books at night, or it activates my brain and I can't go to sleep.
I love fluffy books. For business books, same thing. I love the Audible, but I do have one favorite book, and I like to give my new leaders this, and it's called The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse, and it's by Charlie Maxey, if you've ever seen this.
I haven't heard of that one before.
And it's a really
The Boy, the Mole, the Horse?
The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. And it's actually a picture book.
Okay.
And what I love about this, especially I think being a mama of boys too, like it really connects with me, but it's all about, it has different quotes in it. So it's a story, but it's all motivational quotes mixed up throughout the story.
I love that.
It is a beautiful read. Our CEO of Epicure actually gave it to me. And like I was crying when I was reading it. It's so sweet and it's easy to read. And if you've got kids, you can kind of read it to them. So I love really
that. And then if there's any leaders listening to this, it clearly makes a really powerful gift.
It does. It's a beautiful gift for sure.
Love that. Okay, so where can people find you on Instagram if they want to check you out, or where is the best place on social media to find you?
Absolutely. So Instagram, Carrie_Barfoot. On Facebook, just search Carrie Barfoot. I have a business page as well as a VIP page that you can join as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome.